All right. Awesome. We have Erin Lale. How are you doing today, Erin?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. And I can see that you have a kitty cat that you're playing with.
Yeah, this is my sweet kitty Happy.
Hello, Happy. He seems to be very happy with that ribbon. All right,
Yes.
Erin. So you wrote this book right here called Asatru,
hmm
and it's a pretty easy read, surprisingly. I was not expecting it to. Normally, I read books about heathenry, paganism, these different religions. Normally, they're long, complicated, and packed with information. But this was a surprisingly very easy read too for people that are interested in learning more about heathenry. So let's get started with the name of Asatru. What does that mean?
it means true to the gods. Asa is the word for gods or God, and then Aesir being the plural. So, and then true meaning true or troth. Basically, it's and also true person is someone who is true to the Aesir. But we actually include more beings besides just the Aesir. There's three different kinds of gods that live in Asgard. Um, Asgard being home of the Aesir.
Mhm.
So there's also the Vanir like Freya and Freyr, and there's a variety of Jotnar like Skavi that also live there. So there's actually three different kind of nationalities of gods
Okay.
in a way.
All right. So this is particular to Norse gods then.
Right.
Okay. And so what got you interested in even writing this book in the first place?
Well, I was the forum manager of the MSN Asatru group back in the year 2000. And everybody would recommend these books to beginners that were, like you said, complicated and long. So, some 14-year-old kid would come on the forum and say, what should I read first? And people would say the Poetic Edda. Like, no, really, seriously, don't do that. And not to a high school freshman. Um,
Yeah.
and I started keeping a fact file on the site with some basic information, and that eventually turned into the first chapter of my book, the first chapter of the original version of my book, also true for beginners, which was self-published in about 2001, I think, if I remember. Things that long ago kind of become unclear, but I do remember very clearly that it was before Amazon, so there were no really good ways to self-publish online and have people just be able to download a book. At the time, I had to individually email people the files, and I had to do the chapters chunk by chunk because the email programs of the time didn't handle the entire book, even though it was only 20,000 words. So
So let's know what
and
kind of technology we were dealing with at that time.
right, exactly. So it's taken me a really, really long time to get this new version of the book published by a serious publisher that could place it in bookstores, and I finally got it done. And then my book was published in 2020
Mhm.
when all the bookstores were closed and all the pagan festivals were closed, and I couldn't go on a book tour, and I couldn't go anywhere, and I couldn't even go see my own book in the bookstore because the bookstore was closed. So it was pretty frustrating trying to launch a book under those circumstances.
Yeah, yeah. And then
So
late in I think 2021, I had to go down to Salem, and that's when I stumbled upon this book,
Mhm.
which surprisingly has been pretty pagan, metaphysical, occult friendly.
Mhm.
And so it really, for me, stemmed some more curiosity reading sort of this beginner friendly book on Norse religion. Um, so was this the actual, so these were the actual terms, this is the actual terminology that people were using back in the day? Uh, from
Yeah, and then I updated it for the new edition that was published in 2020. So I've been working on the new edition for some time, which was it's longer, and it includes a few things that weren't in the original version. Um, my joke line is new and improved now with more gods, which is actually true because we had a little bit more scholarship since then. But the main
Yeah.
new thing is about the modernist movement,
Mhm.
which occurred after I published the original version of my book.
Okay.
Uh, and the 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 modernists have kind of gone away from the retro heathen type stuff a lot. Most of them are not interested in historical reenactment.
Mhm.
Um, so traditionalists are people that learned Asatru before the modernist movement mostly, um, and then the modernists are people who have come along since then and have said, why are you guys dressing like Vikings? You look ridiculous, and just wear modern clothes.
Mhm.
And I'm a modernized traditionalist myself. I started off as a traditionalist because I learned Asatru in the 90s. And
Mhm.
then um, I've kind of modernized a few things since then.
Okay.
Here, let me turn this off of the cat for a moment so I can show you that I am currently wearing a um, heathen related sweatshirt and with my Thor's hammer,
Mhm.
which is this is modernist style heathen dress. This isn't what I would wear for a ritual. I still wear Githia robes for a ritual. Oh, there
Okay.
goes the kitty.
Oh
Oh,
no.
okay. I guess you're stuck with me, much less photogenic than the kitty cat. Oh, here I can show you some other cool things I've got over here.
Okay.
This is my main house altar.
Okay. Wow. All right. So
And
statuary,
yeah,
horns, pictures, flowers, flags,
yeah.
candles. Okay.
Yeah.
So for practitioners in the Norse faith, do you have to have an altar?
No, absolutely. I didn't even actually start keeping a main house altar until very recently.
Hmm.
Um, Originally, I had a portable working altar only that um, I would keep covered up when I wasn't using it. So I only brought it out for rituals, and I still use that one. It's portable, so I can bring it to wherever I want to have a ritual.
Hmm.
Um, but I uh, in the in the during the pandemic years here, I um, became the owner of the house I live in, and I also inherited a ton of heathen stuff um, from my life companion Tom, like a lot of the statuary that's on that, and a lot of the artworks I have around here. Some of the artworks are ones I've made. Some are ones that belonged to Tom. So I kind of wanted a place to put all the things, and because I because this is all all mine now. I got to put it in the living room instead of
Yeah.
covered up under a cloth.
All right.
And
So is the is the altar something where you put things, either ancestors, religion,
yeah,
seasonal, and it's all to be working with the season and whatever magic surrounding the time is with that?
yeah, that too. Some of these things are on here permanently. Let me um, point out a few of the permanent features are um, this candle set up here. This candle snuffer belongs to Tom. Now, actually, candles are not a feature of traditional Asatru because Asatru comes from a time period before people really had candles like this.
Hmm.
But um, but a candle is kind of it's a representation of fire, and it works when you just want a representation of fire. It's still a real fire because it's an actual fire on there,
Yeah.
or it would be if
It's a
this
thing you can set on fire. You can start a fire with.
right. Right. So traditionally, a lot of these types of things would be centered on the household hearth, which would be in a Viking longhouse. That was a giant cooking pit in the center of the main hall with benches around it for people to sit and
Yeah.
eat and talk and stuff. Um, well, my house isn't set up like that. I actually do have a fireplace, but it's like over in the corner, and and it burns natural gas. So um, yeah. So I mean, I could set up a fire pit in the backyard every single time I wanted to do a ritual, but no. I used to do that when I mainly just did holiday rituals and not daily rituals, but that was when I um, had to kind of keep my heatheny stuff in in a little containment, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Eh,
I
eh,
kind of
yeah.
spread my heatheny stuff all over. Here's
Nice.
another permanent part of my main house altar is this part. This is a picture of Tom participating in a um, uh, axe throwing at a heathen festival, and
Are these his axes here?
um, yeah, that's not Tom's though. That's mine.
Okay.
That was given to me by the uh, local Ren Fair king,
Okay.
who is also a heathen.
Okay.
And
Nice.
this is this area here is like Tom's stuff
Okay.
and things that belong to Tom. And I've got this root beer set out there for Tom because that was his favorite thing. So
Okay. So that's an offering to him.
that's my little Tom area
Okay.
for my main house altar
All
right
right.
there.
So the root beer is an offering to him, and these are things that you do with.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So all right. So one question with this is Asatru something that like the I think this is probably part of the reason why so many people have gained interest in the past couple of years for uh, pagan practices. Is this a adapting religion? It teaches adaptability. It's meant to adapt. It's meant to grow with the times.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's um, if you look at the vast sweep of history that's sort of included in the way we do Asatru today in America, it's not just Icelandic Viking stuff. That's um, we just happen to have um, used the Icelandic versions of all of the stories and names and everything because that's who wrote down the stories. Iceland was the place where someone wrote it all down.
Hmm.
And um, but American Ossatruers are mostly continental ourselves. As far as if you don't have to be uh, descended from a heathen to be a heathen. You absolutely can be anybody and be a heathen. The gods have called all kinds of people,
Hmm.
but the vast majority of American Ossatruers are um, continental European, German, Austrian, like that. And so a lot of American Ossatruers have added back some German specific gods like Ostara, the goddess that we celebrate on Easter, and which is she's not a part of Icelandic Asatru at all. She's not even in any of the stories. But most American Asatruers do celebrate Ostara. So this is so we look backwards and then we also look forwards. So in the forwards and contemporary, we look around to our contemporary um, our community and environment. And most American Asatruers have something personal in their practice that they have added to their practice because it refers to their family or their personal experiences, such as personal gnosis, or just something that goes on in their community. For example, my street has a Halloween street fair um, where we all put tables outside on the street and we just have a great big community celebration about it. Halloween's not part of Asatru, but I celebrate it because it's an American holiday that my community celebrates. So one of the big things about Asatru and also paganism in general is that you can add stuff to it because you know because people did all the way along. If you look at the differences between the Viking Age Icelandic saga stories and the Germanic paganism described by Tacitus, the Roman historian, um, many hundreds of years before, there are huge differences between the stories, the names of the gods, the practices, who's practicing, what they do with it. Um, there's there's actually not huge amounts of overlap between the names of the gods from the two periods. Even there's only a few, like Ingvi Freyr is one that's been in all the time, but a lot of them were completely new names in the Icelandic sagas versus the ones that were known back then. So um, with that as an example, we see that we've actually been changing and adapting all along.
Okay. All right. Um, that is interesting. So is there anything? I mean, besides just knowing your roots and knowing uh, the sources as to why you do what you do. Is there an explicit purpose stated anywhere as to why you? It looks like it's heavily encouraged that you should know your past in this practice.
Well, that's mainly an artifact of reconstructing the religion. We didn't really start until very recently. Um, Asatru is not a continuous practice. There are some continuous practices in it. There are some folk practices from Iceland, Germany, all kinds of places. There's practices we adopted from Wicca and other pagan religions in modern times. But when people started out to try to create Asatru, they were creating something new based on something old rather than practicing a continuous practice like, say, the Pennsylvania Deitch have a continuous practice, which we've learned a few things from them too, because it's a related culture.
Okay. So why
Um,
why was there a need to create something new from something old?
well, because Christianity happened. Yeah, there's like this entire big space in history where the the imperial religion of the papacy um, basically conquered Europe. It's it's very it's very more complicated than that, but um, and a lot of those countries that adopted Christianity did so for non-religious reasons. A lot of them did it for reasons of trade and alliance, military alliances. So there was, and you know, then a whole lot of other things happens. Basically, it's I have a whole history chapter about it. That's actually the first thing I talk about, other than the frequently asked questions in my book, is the history, because you kind of have to know the history to know why things are the way they are. So that's why I start with that, rather than, a lot of people think I should have started with rituals or magic or some things. Well, you really can't just start with practicing magic and rituals without knowing all this other stuff first. You
Great.
know,
Yeah. No, I mean it is important, and that's part of the reason why I started my YouTube channel, The Bard's Archive, so we can have
yeah,
on camera people talking about their history. Um,
right.
so yeah, so I mean, all those are great things. Um, I think it's important that people, at least to some degree, know their history, because you can understand why things are the way they are, or why that got started. Um,
Right.
so does Asatru? So does this also kind of open the floor to creating to new gods, to new variations of gods?
Sure. Yeah. There's this is kind of a controversial topic within heathenry. Who counts as a legitimate variation on the gods? And this conversation is being driven by the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
And is that
There,
causing problems right now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And
well, I don't think it's a problem.
okay.
Because I think that every story we have about the gods was invented sometime. You know, the ancient arts made up a lot of stuff. It was, you know, if you look at a lot of the stories, they're clearly metaphoric or allegorical. Um, for example, the story of Sif's hair. This is a story about the wheat harvest,
Mhm.
and it's only relevant to wheat farmers. If you take a point in history before agriculture, no one was telling that kind of story because it wasn't relevant to their lives. We happen to have had the stories written down at a point in history when there was a well-developed agricultural and seafaring tradition. So a lot of the stories are relevant to the lives of people from that time period. But if you go back way, way, way far back, way far back, you get here,
Mhm.
you get to the Stone Age, and you get gods like this. Now, today we call this the Venus of Willendorf, or the goddess of Willendorf. We don't know what her name was because there wasn't any writing yet. But there are similar images and statuary all over Europe and all over other places besides Europe too. There's these are also controversial in that we don't actually know for sure that this was technically a goddess. A lot of people like to call it a fertility fetish, but I call it a goddess because I feel that she is a goddess. And if I wrote about fertility fetishes, people would get the entire wrong idea about my writing online.
Yeah. Because there's, for most people, certain things come to mind when you say the word fetish.
That's right. Originally that actually meant a magical shamanic
Mhm.
thing that you use for magical shamanic purposes. But yes, people have
It's changed into
changed
something
that
else.
word. Yeah, academics still use it to mean a shamanic magical item, but I think they're like the last people on Earth who still do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
that's it. That's enough of my face. Here's the kitty cat.
More kitty cat. Yeah.
Working
So, all right.
cat.
So this is unique for teaching adaptability and change, and how to look back and gain what you can for looking towards the future. So earlier you were talking about traditional versus modern, in terms of garb, in terms of how you dress. So you learned a traditionally, and
Right.
you will dress not in ritual modern. Um, does this mean it's acceptable for somebody to do ritual in a modern outfit?
Yes. Yes, you
Okay.
totally can. In fact, now that I've moved from mainly just doing the seasonal holidays to doing um, a daily practice, I usually doing my daily practice rituals and just whatever I happen to have on. I always start my day with a coffee, and I make a toast with coffee um, to Odin and his brothers and to Thor. And later in the day, I have a tea around tea time that's for the goddesses. And I just do those in whatever normal outfit I happen to have on at the time, not anything special.
Okay. Did
I'll still get in the whole outfit if I've got a bunch of people over for a specific holiday, and I'm going to be actually leading a symbol and performing the blessings and so forth. Um, but for just ordinary daily rituals like the coffee ritual, or when I just go light a candle on the main house altar over there, and I usually just do that in whatever I happen to have on.
Okay. All right. And so because there was this, because I've been curious about the modern and the traditional, and whether if it's respectable or disrespectable um, to not wear traditional garb uh, in ritual or for certain times of the year, for certain ceremonies. Um, because I find uh, with certain pagan groups I've interacted with, they're fine with it. Other pagan groups,
Mhm.
you should be wearing something traditional. And then when I've gone to more tribal based gatherings, so like as a powwow, for an example,
Mhm.
a lot of the times people are all right with where you wearing whatever you want, but for only in certain
Mhm.
parts of the ceremony, for certain songs, people will wear traditional
Right.
attire, and then there are times when it's okay to not wear traditional attire.
Right. Like, for example, like at a powwow, if you are just there to experience the powwow and watch the dance contests, and eat fry bread, wear whatever you want, traditional or modern or whatever. But if you want to dance, you should be in an outfit. So that's actually kind of how it works in a lot of heathen stuff too. If you if you're just there to experience the holiday, wear whatever you want. But if you're actually conducting the ritual, you should be in ritual garb for most groups. Now that's like you said, that with the pagans, and that varies by group. It varies by group with heathen groups too. There will be traditionalist groups where everybody is expected to be in full historical garb. A lot of those types of groups are also historical reenactment groups. There's a local group in my town that is actually based in a Ren Fair guild, and everybody has historical garb because they're a Ren Fair guild. So if they want to show up at the Yule gathering in historical garb, everybody already has it, and there they go. But there are other groups that are totally modernist and are not interested in that kind of thing at all, and nobody has historical garb, not even the Gothi or Githya. That's what we call the priest and priestess. And then everybody just is in modern clothes, and that's how that group does it. But for a lot of groups, like my group, the Gothi or Githya will put on some sort of ritual clothing specifically for conducting the ritual. Might take it back off later.
Okay. All right. And so for people that are new to doing this, sometimes being involved with these kinds of practices, or Asatru, for example, sometimes getting started, it might be a little bit of an expensive investment, or for people that don't quite know what, or trying to test the water, are so that is fine for people to go ahead. Hello, kitty. Asking for more attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for people wanting to partake, too, if you want an example for, we're in Yule right now. If somebody wants to wear something, so I have this blazer that has Yule colors to it. It's got red and green on it. That is also perfectly okay.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as the group you're going to isn't a full-on historical garb for everybody group, and you would know that before you get there.
Yeah. Okay. And so my second to last question, what are, for people that are new to this, what are, not just reading this book, but are there other sources you recommend for people to begin, or places, other things for people to read?
Oh, sure. There's actually a recommended reading list right in the back of my book. And there's also a recommended reading list in the files section of my forum. My current forum is the Asatru Facebook forum on Facebook. So yeah, I'm still doing forum management, just not on MSN groups. That's right.
Okay.
There's no MSN groups.
All right. And you have any messages for future generations and people out there?
Oh, future generations. Trust the gods and your own gnosis. You don't have to keep doing everything exactly the way everybody else did just because it's the way everybody else did.